Very good morning, everyone. Today we'll be talking about the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act that we normally call POCSO Act. So this act came into came into the action in the year 2012. So, what was the purpose of that act? The purpose of the act is to provide protection to all children from the offenses of sexual assault, sexual harassment, and pornography. It provides protection to all children from sexual offenses by adult abuser. So it's not like there was no act before 2012. There were act which was under the Indian Constitution, but there was no particular act, we can say, or law which was just focused on the children, or there was no any fast track court which has to take decision in a on a on an urgent basis. So this POCSO came into in 2012. The POCSO is in line with the Article 15, Clause 3 of the Constitution of India, which permits the state to make special provision for children. With its enhancement, India now has become one of the most comprehensive law that not only allows justice for children who are victims of sexual offences, but also takes into account the best interest and well-being of the child. So, what is sexual abuse? So, sexual abuse is a broad term which is used to describe any sexual offense against children. To put it simply, we can say when a person involves a child in a sexual activity for his or her sexual gratification, commercial gain, or both. So, if you talk about statistics, so in India, every three children are raped every 3 children are raped every 3 hourly, and 5 children are sexually assaulted every hourly. And total of 13,244 cases of child rape, gang rape, and pornography have been reported during the phase of COVID. And total number of 1,54,526 cases are still pending till it is the start till 2018. So why POSCO was needed? Before 2012, there were specific laws in India that address sexual crimes against children. So it was covered under the Indian Penal Code. But furthermore, many forms of sexual abuse, like pornography to children, could not be prosecuted unless there was a penetrative sexual assault, or there was no any law which was for the boys if any sexual offense has been committed against any boy. So a new reform has to be made in order to cover all these loopholes in order to make a better law. So the POSCO came into act. So what are the objectives of POSCO? The objectives are to protect the children from sexual assault, sexual harassment, and pornography, and to establish special court for speedy trial of such offences. So if we talk about the offences, what are the different offences which are covered under this act are: first is penetrative sexual assault, which comes under section 3, aggravated penetrative sexual assault, which comes under section 5, sexual assault, which comes into section 7, aggravated sexual assault, which comes into section 9, sexual harassment of the child, which comes under section 11, and use of child for pornographic purpose, which comes under section 13. So first we'll talk about the penetrative sexual assault. So a person is said to commit any penetrative sexual assault if he penetrates his penis to any extent into the vagina, mouth, urethra, or anus of a child, or make the child to do so with him or any other person, or he inserts to any extent any object or a part of the body, not being the penis, into the vagina, the urethra, or anus of the child, or make the child to do so with him or any other person, or he manipulates any part of the body of the child so as to cause penetration into vagina, urethra, anus, or any other part of the body the child, or makes the child to do so with him or other person, or he applies his mouth to the body parts. So offense, when we say when any offense has been aggravated, when it is committed by a person in position of any trust or authority, such as police, army, security personnel, public servant, and a family member, or committed by a person in management or staff of education, like is in a school, medical, or religious institution, or it is committed by a person in management of or staff of jail, remand home, protection home, observation home, or any other place of custody or care and protection. Aggravated penetrative sexual assault. When we say that any offense is aggravated, when the offense is committed more than once, when in gang assault is present, when offenses cause grievous hurt, when the offenses cause physical or mental disability, when the offense is committed taking advantage of a child's mental or physical disability, when the offense is committed more than once. Now we come to the next section, that is section 7, sexual assault. Whoever with sexual intent touches the vagina, penis, anus, or breast of the child, or make the child touch the vagina, penis, anus, or breast of such person or any other person, or does any other act with sexual intent which involves physical contact with the without penetration is said to have a is said to commit a sexual assault. The next is sexual harassment. It comes under section 11. A person is said to commit sexual harassment upon a child when a person with sexual intent utters any word or make any sound or makes any gesture or exhibit any part object of the body with intention that such words or sound shall be heard, or gesture or object of or part of the body shall be seen by child, or make a child exhibit his body or part of the or his body or any part of the body so as it is seen by some person or other person, shows any object to a child in form of media or for pornographic purposes, repeatedly or constantly follows or watches or contacts a child either directly or through electronic, digital, or any other means, or threatens to use in form of media a real fabricated depiction through electronic film or digital or any other mode of any act of the body of the child or the involvement of the child in a sexual act, or entices a child for pornographic purpose or give gratification therefore. Now, the last offense which is covered under the act is use of child for pornographic purpose. Whoever uses a child in any form of media, including program or advertisement, telecast by television channels or internet, or any other electronic form or printed form, whether or not such programs or advertisements is intended for personal use or for distribution, for the purpose of sexual gratification, comes under the this act. This representation of the sexual organs of the child, uses of child engaged in real or stimulated sexual acts with or without penetration, the indecent or absence representation of a child shall be guilty of the offense or using a child for pornographic purpose. So if we come to the punishment of different offenses, so under section 4 and 6, the penetrative sexual assault, there's a minimum imprisonment of 10 years. And if we aggravated penetrative assault is there, then this minimum imprisonment up to 20 years below for victims below 16 years, which can be extended up to life imprisonment. For the next section 8 and 10, sexual assault and aggravated sexual assault, imprisonment is there up to 3 to 7 years, along with fine. With section 12, sexual harassment, imprisonment up to 3 years with a fine. With section 14 and 15, using child for pornographic purpose, imprisonment of 3 to 7 years, along with fine. When POCSO Act read with section 377 IPC, unnatural offences, imprisonment up to 10 years, and section 17 to 22, abatement, attempt to commit offence, reporting offences, imprisonment up for 1 year. There's an act in there's a law in the act that if the person if he is knowing, like the parents, if they are knowing about the child that he has been sexually assaulted and they are not reporting himself, there's a law that even the parents are if they are found guilty, then they can be also imprisoned for 1 year. So punishment under the act, punishment for storing pornographic material involving a child for commercial purpose is there for 3 years under section 15, and the burden of proof shift on the accused of a serious offense. So one of the most loophole of this act was that the burden of proving the person to be not guilty, it is always there on the accused person. So this law also said states that there's we had the reporting of the any such offenses is very mandatory. So it is mandatory for every individual to report the case of child sexual abuse, which comes under section 19.1. And it is mandatory for police to register an FIR in all cases of child sexual abuse. The Act provides under the Section 21, Clause 1, that any person who fails to report the commission of an offense or who fails to record offense shall be punished with imprisonment of either description, which may extend up to 6 months with a fine or both. Care and protection. So, police to determine immediate need for care and protection. Police to arrange emergency care, emergency medical care. They have to ensure that all the samples have been sent and it is done through a proper law, and inform the child and the parent guardian about support service, including the counseling and access to legal aid. Child to be produced before child welfare committee within 24 hours of recipient of report. The accused, if the accused is living with the same or shared household with the child is living in child care institution and is without parental support, child is found to be without any home or parental support, under child welfare committee to determine whether the child needs alternative arrangement for care. The support person. So child welfare committee may provide a support person for the support of the child. To the support person has to maintain the confidentiality of the child and to inform about the proceedings, available assistance, judicial procedure, and the potential outcomes. The SJPU, that is Special Juvenile Police Unit, or the local police to update the child guardian, other person whom the child trusts, support person about the progress of the case, availability of emergency and crisis services, procedural steps in criminal prosecution, availability of victims' compensation, benefit status of investigation, and arrest of the suspect offender. Filling of the charge sheet, a schedule of court proceedings, bail release, and rendering of verdict after the trial sentence imposed on the offender. We talk about the emergency medical care. The privacy of the child has to be protected. Medical care in the presence of parents and guardian. No legal or magisterial requisition or documentation required. Any forensic evidence to be collected according to the section 27. So there's a particular steps through which our recording of the child statement had to be done. So the first step is that preferably the recording had to be done by a woman, police officer. Second, all the at the child, it should be done at the child home in order to make the child comfortable. The third is that it should be done in their native language. The fourth is that a frequent break should be given in between during the procedure. The fifth is medical examination should be done within the 24 hours. Sixth is the inspection in presence of a trusted adult, it should be done. Seventh is there's always use of audio video devices if available. Seventh is recordment statement to be read out by the police officer to the child in order to verify what he has said is correct or not, or any omission is needed. And child and family must get a copy of the statement. Free legal aid. The Act also confirms the right to free legal aid under Section 40, providing that a children or his or family shall be entitled to legal counsel of their choice, and that when where they are unable to afford such counsel, then their public prosecutor can be provided by the government in this law. Now, if we talk about compensation, special courts may provide interim compensation after the registration of the FIR. The compensation is taken in account, takes these following things into account: the type, the gravity, and the severity of the abuse, the expenditure incurred on the medical treatment, loss of educational opportunity, loss of employment, relationship of child with the offender, if abuse was single, isolated, or took place over a period of time, whether child became pregnant, whether the child was having any STD or HIV, if he had suffered during this time, or compensation to be paid. All the compensation had to be paid by the government within the 30 days of the recipient of the order. So whom we can report? So first we can always go to the local police or a special juvenile police unit. There's a child welfare committee. We can always report there. The child helpline number is there, 24/7/1098. Then the State Commission for Protection of Child is there, and the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights is also there. And there's a website also there. We can also go and we can fill the form and we can report. So critical analysis of the act. Act only considers the biological. So they are currently, if we talk about the act, there are a number of loopholes that need to be addressed. So few of them are listed here. The act only considers the biological age of the child, not the mental age of the child. So POCSO Act defines a child, a person, or a person between below the 18 years, but the act is silent on the issue of which document is considered to define the age of the child. So we only take the biological age of the child, not the mental age. The act does not recognize consensual sexual intercourse or sexual relationship between two minors, as the act does not consider as adolescent from 16 to 18 years. So it does not take into the consideration if any intercourse has been committed through it has been consent, if the consent has been taken. The section 22 of the act imposes punishment for false complaining, but the same section exempts the child from such any punishment. So if I am complaining about someone, so the burden of proving the that he is not guilty comes on the accused. But if I am putting a false accusation against someone, so I am exempted from any such offense. Even though the POCSO Act makes an effort not to discriminate when it comes to a protection of children from sexual violence, as the Act aims to provide protection to every child regardless of their gender, the Act is not fully free from gender biases. The Act uses the pronouns like he, denoting the accused of or offender. Thus, the Act shields women from ambit of punishment under this Act, as it turns a blind eye to the possibility of female sexual offense. And despite of the act making provision for establishment of special courts with the aim to dispose of PD trials and providing for certain time frame within court, there are number of cases that are still pending in India. So in order to fulfill this loophole, there were some certain amendments which were made in 2019. The amendments which came into act in this act were the act makes offenses against children gender neutral. The definition of sexual also now includes using or administration of hormones or chemical substance to the children to attain early sexual maturity. The act defines child pornography as a visual depiction of sexually explicit conduct involving a child, including photographs, video, digital, or a computer-generated image, indistinguishable from an actual child. The act is critical as it clearly defines a child pornography and make it punishable. The amendment also penalizes the transmitting of pornographic material to children and the purpose of synchronizing it with IT Act. The Act enhances punishment for sexual offense against the children with a provision for the death penalty. One most important feature is that those committing penetrative sexual assault on a child below 16 years of age would be punished with imprisonment up to 20 years. Extending the life, and it can be extended up to life imprisonment. In any aggravated penetrative sexual assault cases, the Act increases the minimum punishment up to 20 years, and the maximum punishment can be up to death penalty. The curb child pornography, the Act to curb child pornography, the Act specifies that the who use a child for pornographic purpose should be punished with imprisonment up to 5 years and a fine. However, in a case of second or subsequent conviction, the punishment would be up to 7 years and a fine. And the government has also sanctioned more than 1,000 fast-track courts in India for speedy trial. So what is the role of judiciary? The judiciary plays an important role in providing speedy justice to the children who are victims of sexual assaults and offenses. But unfortunately, countless institutional weak points and severe infrastructural faults of our institution leads to the failure of legal protection of the child, which consequently lead to frustration towards the justice system. A prime example would be a humongous backlog of pending cases of sexual offences against the children regardless of their timeline laid by the Section 35 of the Act. And last, what is the role of a mental health professional? The mental health professional have an important role in assisting the child and family during the examination and for comprehensive management of child sexual abuse. Victims of the child sexual abuse are vulnerable and may have tendencies to self-harming behavior. The experts can counsel the child and help them to reduce their emotional burden of trauma. Appropriate measures must be taken to prevent further abuse, trauma, and re-victimization. Very relevant surface in medical field, sometimes in practice for dealing with mental health per se. Many people call it POCSO. Inform is important. So questions? Any other questions? So any comments, any views about that? Whether that is of child, even sharing with what is in digital media. Is it legal or illegal? These IT acts, legally watching. The reporting of the case has to be done by the police officer only, especially a woman. And yes, yes. Sir, like there are many cases in which parents they know but they haven't reported. So, but the law says that we have to report. But there are many cases in which the parents they don't report. So we as a treating physician shall we report or if we know, sir, so section 9. So the section 19.1 it says like we have to report it. Child says that so so I was just seeing it in the media. So last I could just budget that gynecologists are not supposed to report intentional pregnancies before 18 for abortion if that conventional actually interaction. Your clarity is not. I mean, the clarity shall be. So, sir, that is a loophole of this act. So that if any like anyone who's having less than 18 years having any consensual act, so it is it comes under this act only. So there is an age difference. is an age difference also. Minimum age difference. Suppose say pedophile, pedophilia से that मुझे अप्लाई किया है. देखो 4 years age gap. More clear gap. I think we need to be more clear. This thing for pedophilia that is discussion. That chip is talking. So very one of the also controversial aspects is that even showing the gesture of the child can be a sexual harassment, sexual assault. Assault gesture harassment. It can be very controversial. Very subjective. Many of these people they are first taking the parents in parents would want to disclose specifically if someone is in very close, but it is subjective in many countries. Then crisis intervention, then psychologists. We are expecting, but they are not. Then how to ask? First, I look that in many times, how to suspect first or second day, after many sessions, will actually come to know there is an element of very clearly presentations are very different. I think one of the seminars we can have, which mental health approach, child we will be more clear. We need more. Mental health approach, different area. Abhijit can only take it up. उसके बाद next week academy शुरू होनी तो भी कोई continuity another question this will be that is Z Z platform so very interesting series OG something else so they show that very good series of board meetings these also POCSO Act. So I think yes, I agree. The last presentation, I think we had to we have to drag through the presentation. Still, we have two presentation kind of presentation will have one will be which will be extremely insensitive presentation and one is extremely. So I think we made a good effort. I really enjoy the fact the emotional aspect you give when you speak. That is